Hello, and welcome to Nerdish. It's like last time, but this time. This is Brady.
That's our motto. It's like last time, but this time.
It's like that, but it's different.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm Brady. This is Levi.
Yes.
And together, along with Brendan, who will not be here tonight, we are Nerdish.
We are. I was going to say Levi, Brady, and Brendan.
Sorry.
But it's okay.
You want to say it? You can still say it.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Oh.
Today, after Bird, Well, what are you doing?
Well, pre-Bird, you're just going to be hanging out, but then post-Bird, you're going to be doing main idea questions.
Yes, main idea for the reading section. It's the same approach for the SAT and the ACT for these main idea questions. They're pretty straightforward.
That sounds about fair. I'm going to be talking about graphing parabolas, ellipses, and circles, which is a good time. Good, which are basically conics is what I'll be talking about. You got a tongue there. Hey, we got to get this messenger thing going on.
Oh, that's a good call.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I'll do that.
All right.
For you, today.
For me, today.com. That's my favorite website. So you want to know about parabolas, huh? Hey, King Jason. Welcome. 576. King Jason, you got any questions? Let us know. Parabolas. Parabolas. Nope, there is not an L there.
Well, hey, CB Turtle. Wait, why don't you do CB Turtle's question real
Sure.
quick?
CB Turtle, you asked about then versus than. That is a very good question because these are often confused. Here's the difference. Then is a time. Than is used for comparison. So, I'll meet you then is saying I'll meet you later. Whatever time we agreed upon, I'll meet you then. You're going to use than. I have more shirts than Levi has shirts. Is that, can I shorten that? I have more shirts than Levi.
Yeah, you can do that.
That's
because
okay.
Levi because it's a name, it can be a subject or an object.
This towel is more yellow than this towel. All right? So than comparison. Then time. Levi's got a little AE trick for you. All right? You could say, and then we'll go to the pumpkin patch, which refers to a time, not and than.
CB Turtle, questions on this? This is the long and the short of it.
Yep. Thanks. Very good. Hey, CB Turtle, this one's on the house, but next one you're going to have to pay for.
It's not
Makes
true,
perfect
though.
sense. It's not. It'll always be free.
Please ask questions.
Yes. Please ask questions.
Please.
We need your questions. All right. Do you want to erase this? While I get going with parabolas? No, not that.
Got it.
Parabolas. You get two bolas, you got a parabolas. You like it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a bolus. Wasn't that the first word of the day that we
Yeah,
did?
the first word of the day. And as you can tell, we've been doing word of the day ever since. But bolus. B-O-L-U-S, meaning a glob of food that your mouth swallows down your esophagus.
Is it like when it gets caught specifically in your throat? Or
No.
It's just the lump of food as it travels down your esophagus?
Yes, it is. We swallow in boluses.
It's important to have that word, I
bolusi.
think.
It's a very important word. Otherwise, what are we going to call that?
So bolus is plural and then bolon is singular, or no?
Belon Musk. Yes, that's the right. Okay,
Right.
so we'll talk about what parabolas are. You probably know what they look like, but what does it actually mean? Well, it's pretty fun. Parabola is all of the points that are equidistant from what's called the focus and a directrix. Very exciting. Okay, a focus is just a point, and then a directrix is a line. It's a line. All the points that are equidistant from that point and that line, what would they be? Well, there's an obvious one, which is right in between them on the y-axis. This is definitely a point that we're going to have, okay? But what are the other points that we can have? I'll show you. This one, this, be a little bit wider, actually. Here we go. This one. It's eventually going to turn into a parabola. Okay? So this point, for instance, the distance from the focus and the distance to the directrix is the same. Distance to the directrix, distance to the focus, that's always the same. Okay? That's what a parabola actually is in terms of conics. But we don't really need to know that for the SAT and ACT. What you need to know is you need to be able to look at a quadratic equation, which is what defines parabolas, or at least parabolas are the graphical interpretation of a quadratic equation, and know what kind of graph it's going to look like. Okay, so let's start with a fun one. I don't know why it's going to be fun, but of course, it's always fun. We're going to say y is equal to x squared, here we go, minus x plus 12. You think about it for a sec? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're going to go minus 12. There we go. Yes, there we go. Okay, so how do we graph this thing? Well, the first thing that I think is probably the easiest to understand is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where you cross the y-axis. And where you cross the y-axis, you should know this, your x value is 0. Okay? To find a y-intercept, plug in 0 for x. And the converse is also true. To find the x-intercept, plug in 0 for y. Because if we're on the y-axis, our x value has to be 0. Okay? So if I throw in 0 for this function, all that's going to matter is this number at the end, negative 12. Okay? That's going to be our y-intercept. So I know we're going to go through negative 12. So we're going to some dashes right there. We got negative 12, and I know that that point is going to be on it. Okay? Very exciting. This is exactly the same as slope-intercept form in terms of finding the y-intercept. So with slope-intercept form, you know that this number here, plus 3, is the y-intercept. The reason why is because if you plug in 0 for x, the 5x is not going to matter, and you're just going to have y equals 3. Okay? Plug in 0 for x to find the y-intercept. Plug in 0 for y to find the x-intercept. Very good. Okay, what are the other things we can find? Well, one big thing is the parabola going to be opening upward or opening downward? And the thing that gives you that information is the coefficient of x squared. Let me just write out the standard form of a quadratic. Standard form looks like this. ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay? The a value is the coefficient of x squared. And that's going to be what tells you if the parabola opens upward or downward. That's the most powerful term in a quadratic, is the x squared. You can think about plugging x in, and like your x term will go up. Yeah, sure. Your x squared term will go up a lot faster because you're squaring values, which makes them large if they're already greater than 1 or less than negative 1. So that really is the driving force behind what a parabola looks like. Okay? So this one here, we already know that our y-intercept is negative 12. We've already put that down. Fantastic. What are the other things we can find? Well, let's try finding the opposite, which are the x-intercepts. How do we find the x-intercepts? Well, as I told you before, we'd plug in 0 for y. So if I were to do that, I would get this. 0 is equal to x squared minus x minus 12. Okay? How do we solve this? This should look very familiar to you. This is standard form of solving a quadratic equation. You want to make sure that everything's on one side and that 0 is on the other side, and then you can either factor or complete the square or do the quadratic formula, all that stuff, okay? But that's when you set y equal to 0, and the reason is because you're finding x-intercepts. That's what the solutions to a quadratic equation actually are when you graph them. They are the x-intercepts. So in this case, this looks factorable. I made up this equation and I made it factorable, so that's why it looks that way. I would be looking for two numbers that do two things. I always write a little m and a. Levi, the computer's going a little haywire.
That's probably good, yeah?
Yeah, no, it probably is.
Oh, I see.
And can you also make my screen full?
Oh, yeah.
Very good. These two numbers have to multiply to negative 12, and they have to add to negative 1. What two numbers do that? Well, let's see. Multiplying to negative 12, I know that one of them is going to have to be positive, one of them has to be negative, because that's the only way you end up with a negative number. And the sum is negative 1. Let's say negative 4 and 3. Hey, look at that. It works. Okay, so I've got this factor x minus 4, and I've got the factor x plus 3. Fantastic. I have factored these. The next step to solve this is to use what's called the zero product property, which is, if these two factors multiply to make 0, that could be possible in two different situations. If this first factor is 0, doesn't matter what this one is, this whole thing's going to multiply to 0 and vice versa. So what x value would make this first factor 0? If x minus 4 is equal to 0, so let me just write that down here. X minus 4 is equal to 0. You solve for x, you get x equals 4. 4 minus 4 is equal to 0. Fantastic. X plus 3 is equal to 0. Subtract 3. You're going to get x equals negative 3. Great. 4 and negative 3. Those are our two solutions, also known as our two x-intercepts, also known as our two roots, also known as our two zeros. They all mean the same thing. So let's put these on the board. We have, okay, so -3. So if this is -12, that would be -6. There's -9, -3. -3 would be right around there. Fantastic. And then 4 would be a little bit to the side of that, right there. Okay, we can already see what this thing's going to look like. We know that it goes upward. We know that we've got a y-intercept here, which looks like it's going to be close to the vertex, but it's not exactly the vertex. It's not directly in between these 2 points, so we can't call it the vertex yet. And for all of you who don't know what vertex or vertices are, that's the place on the parabola where it switches directions. So it's a maximum on a negative-facing parabola, and it's a minimum on an upward-facing parabola. So that's the next thing we have to find, is what is the vertex? Conveniently, there is an equation for that you should know. The x-coordinate of the vertex of a parabola is -b over 2a, where b and a are the numbers that you see in the standard form of a quadratic. So in this case, our b value, we've got to go back here. Our b value is -1. That's the coefficient of this x term, and our a value is +1. So let's plug those in. So this is going to be -1 over 2 times 1. These are going to cancel each other out and make +1. +1 over 2. That is the x-coordinate of our parabola. Another thing that the x-coordinate of our vertex. Another thing that the x-coordinate of the vertex does is it gives you what's called the axis of symmetry. Parabolas are symmetrical objects. They have a vertical line through them that tells you where you could fold them over and they'd match themselves. And that is going to go through the vertex, because the vertex is that middle point where like the mirroring kind of starts turning over to the other side.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, that's the way that people say it, right? Do we have a pink marker around here?
No,
You ran out?
maybe.
Do we?
Do you want this one?
I would like that. Thank you. Thank you. So x equals 1/2. That's 4. That's 2. That's 1. It's very close to the y-axis. I'm going to draw a dotted line to show you that this is not the parabola, but it's just an important line to know. That is the axis of symmetry. So our vertex is on that. What's the y-coordinate? Well, we have the x-coordinate, so all you have to do at this point is plug the x-coordinate into the equation and find the y-coordinate. So let's go ahead and do that. We have y is equal to, this is going to be 1/2 squared minus 1/2 minus 12. So that's going to be 1/4 minus 1/2 minus 12. Fantastic. 1/4 minus half is going to be -1/4, and then minus 12 is going to give us -12 and 1/4. So -12.25. So that's going to be a little bit lower than the y-intercept that we found. So just a little bit lower than that. Okay? We have everything we need now to graph this thing. I mean, we've sort of had a pretty good idea of what it was going to look like before, but now we're totally set. One thing that you could do is, because parabolas are symmetrical, this y-intercept, I could reflect it over the vertex. So like this y-intercept is, if this is x equals 1/2, this y-intercept is half a unit that way, so I could draw an identical point half unit in the other direction. It's not really that important, but I might as well, since, you know, why not? All right, let's just connect the points, and then we will take this thing up into space. There we go. Something like that. Something like that. Okay, so things you have to find. Your y-intercept, that's just going to be this number. Your x-intercepts, that's where you set it equal to 0 and solve. You got to find your vertex, that's -b over 2a, which is also going to be your axis of symmetry. And then what your y-coordinate of your vertex is. And then you're going to have a great view of what this thing is going to look like. Okay? Now, there is another form that parabolas come in besides just standard quadratic, which is vertex form. We're going to talk about that right now. But first, we're going to erase all of this. I miss this stuff.
I'll erase.
Thank you. Very good.
Want me to leave that up?
Yeah, that'd be great. I didn't even mean to not spray that, but I'm glad I didn't, because that's important.
It's a great idea.
Thank you. I didn't think of it. My friend and partner Levi thought of it. You drawing it? Is that what's happening?
Case.
Good. All right. Let's get this thing nice and clean. Ready for round 2, huh? Getting ready for round 2? You excited?
Also, CB Turtle, how are you doing? And I forget, I'm sure they've told us when they're taking the test. When are you taking the test?
Yeah, CB Turtle. When are you taking the test? Huh? You want to be honest? You want to tell us the truth? We're sick of your lies. Kidding, there's no lies. Well, we don't know if there have been lies, and if they are, they're bad. I don't have a date, just studying.
Nice.
That is nice. Nice.
That's a good idea.
It's a very good idea. Just keep studying forever. Never take the test. Kidding. Take it at some point. But studying is very good. We promote it. We're generally in favor of studying. So what I was going to say is there's also vertex form. So this is standard. We call it standard form. Because it's, standard. It's what you usually see. It's a government issue. Then there's vertex form. Now, vertex form is called that. I'm planning to schedule a date, one I consistently get a certain square practice. Got it. That's a good idea. Okay. Vertex form looks like this. Y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. And we have some new letters in here. First off, the a that we had before, same a. That's fantastic. But then there's h and k. H and k are the coordinates of the vertex. That's why they call it vertex form. This helps us out. It puts it in a way that we can look at it and identify what the vertex is immediately. Okay? A is going to have the same job. If it's positive, it goes up. If it's negative, it goes down. The larger A is, the faster it goes up, so the more narrow it is. The smaller A is, the slower it goes up, the more wide it is. So let's give ourselves a, there we go. Let's go. Y is equal to 2x minus 3 squared plus 6. Now be very careful with your h and k's, because as you can see, we're subtracting the x coordinate, but then adding the y coordinate. So what are we subtracting in x? It's 3. And what are we adding in y? It's 6. So our vertex is 3, 6. So we draw this guy out. We have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Vertex is up here. It's a positive parabola, and it goes up pretty quickly because its a value is 2. Well, relatively quickly. So it's, it's going to go up from there. So funny thing about this parabola is never going to touch the x-axis. What does that mean? It means it has no real solutions. Solutions meaning the x values that you plug in and get 0. You can't do that. You are going to have imaginary solutions. You're going to have 2 imaginary solutions, but in this case, we are not going to have any real solution. So you could try doing the quadratic formula. What's going to happen is you're going to get the square root of a negative number, which means you're going to get a complex number as your answer. Complex solutions always come in pairs, by the way. Like if you have 4 plus 2i is a solution, that means that 4 minus 2i will also be a solution. So you can't have an odd number of complex solutions. It's always going to be an even number of complex solutions. Levi, can you pull up the overlay and take us to question number 28?
Oh my gosh, I thought you would never ask.
Oh man, well I'm asking now.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's what I'm doing.
Number 28, you said?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna lag, probably, maybe.
Sorry about the lag, guys. We're trying. We're trying our best.
There you go.
Oh, man. Fantastic. All right, so I'm going to keep drawing this very haphazardly. The equation y equals ax squared plus bx plus c is graphed in the standard coordinate plane below for real values of a, b, and c. When y is equal to 0, which of the following best describes the solutions for x? This should be very familiar to you. When y, looks like I'm wearing a hat. Yay. When y is equal to 0, where are we? Well, if our height above the x-axis is 0, we're on the x-axis. So these are our x-intercepts. That's what they're asking us about. What are the following solutions for x? What are our x-intercepts? Well, let's see. We got 2 of them. LOL, I thought Brendan Urie was streaming. Brendan Urie. Aka awesome. What is Brendan Urie?
Brendan Urie is a person. And it's actually, I think they're a person. I don't know what they do.
I assume that Brendan Urie is a person. It sounds like a name for a human. So I would also say I think that's probably a person.
I had a cat named Brendan Urie.
Panic at the Disco.
Oh, that's why. Oh, got it. Panic at the because it doesn't matter.
Oh, wait, 27, 28 in class yesterday like this?
I doubt it.
Did you do this yesterday?
By class, I assume CB turtle means not this. Although maybe. I wasn't paying attention.
You were
when
there
Brandon,
yesterday.
Yeah, but I wasn't paying any attention to what Brandon was doing.
In school, perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey, that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. Anyway, so there's two x-intercepts here. We got one right here. Whoa. We got one over here. Whoa. Nah, it's good. Yes, it's very good, CB turtle. This is the good stuff right here. Let's take a look at these descriptions. Two distinct positive real solutions. Well, this is a positive number. This is a negative number, so that's out. Two distinct negative real solutions. Like I just said, we have a positive and a negative. H, one positive real solution and one negative real solution. That looks great. I'm going to tentatively circle that, but let's keep going just to rule out the rest of the answers. Two real solutions that are not distinct. That would mean that they're the same number, but that's not what we see. We see two different numbers here. Two distinct solutions that are not real. No. If they were not real, it would never cross the x-axis. That's the sign of imaginary/complex solutions here. But these are very much real. Like Pinocchio at the very end of the plot of Pinocchio. He finally becomes a real boy. So that was 28. Levi, can you turn the overlay off?
Can I?
Any questions on parabolas, guys and gals? Otherwise, we're going to continue. We're going to talk about cycles and ellipses, graphing them. The fun of graphing them. Okay, so circles. Here's the equation. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. H comma k is the center. R is the radius. If you know on a graph where the center of a circle is, and you know the radius of that circle is completely defined. Completely defined, okay? Just for a second, let's imagine that the center of the circle is 0, 0. So if our h and k were 0, 0, and I rewrote this, I would have x minus 0 squared. So you know what? I'm not even going to write the h and k, because they're just zeros. They're not going to matter. This is going to be this equation right here. X squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. Now that should look very familiar to you, because that should remind you of Pythagorean theorem. Circles are collections of points that are all equidistant from a central point. That's what the radius is. It's that distance that all the points are away from a central point. So if your point is the right distance away from the central point, then you're on the circle. That's what this equation tells you. You can draw yourself a circle. We'll say that it's at the origin, and let's say that it has a radius of 5. Okay, radius of 5. And I said, hey, is 3, 4 on the circle? Well, if you'd put 3, 4, it's probably going to be somewhere around, we'll put it right there, 3, 4. Probably isn't exactly there, but whatever. 3, 4. Well, I know that we're going, if we're trying to find the distance formula between the origin and our point, you basically just draw yourself a little right triangle. And you say, okay, so the x-coordinate is 3, so this side of the triangle is 3, this side of the triangle is 4. The hypotenuse is going to be 5, which is our radius, which means that, yes, this point is on the circle, okay? So this right here is Pythagorean theorem, and then when you have a different center and you have to find your distance from a different point, that's when you have to worry about h and k, okay? So let's just do one, I don't know. See, we have x minus 8 squared plus y plus 6 squared is equal to 81. What would be the... How would you describe this circle to a good buddy of yours? Make it casual, because it's a good buddy. Try to lean on something. Take a look at your watch every now and then. Look around as though you're expecting other people. We have minus h, minus 8. 8 is our h value. That's the center x coordinate. The y value, k, of our y coordinate, or of our center coordinate, is, remember, we're always subtracting. So if you see plus, the number we're subtracting must be negative. This must be negative 6. Because if you subtract negative 6, that's how you get plus 6. And if our radius squared is 81, our radius needs to be the square root of that, which is 9. All right? That's this circle right here. Any questions on that? Otherwise, we're going to jump to ellipses. Any questions on that? Yeah. Probably should have given you guys a little more time, but there is no time. Sea levels are rising. We got to teach. Sorry to get a little morbid. Yeah. Okay. So we're talking ellipses. We're talking ellipses. Not ellipses. That's ... in language. We're talking ellipses, which is the plural of ellipse. Here's something fun about ellipses. The planets do not travel in circular orbits. When you're very young and they show you the solar system, it's like, oh, look at all these perfect circles. Yeah, no. They travel in elliptical orbits, ovals. They're oblong. That's just the way that gravity works, is it makes you do elliptical paths, not circular paths. So, let's talk ovals / ellipses. They're similar to circles, almost. They have a center. But then they have slightly different situation with the radii. Okay? There's two different kinds of ellipses. There are vertically oriented ellipses, and there are horizontally oriented ellipses. Okay? The equation for an ellipse, I'll just write it out and we'll talk about it, is x minus h squared, so far it looks kind of like a circle, over a squared, what? Plus y minus k squared over b squared is equal to 1. It's equal to 1. It always has to be set equal to 1. This is standard form for an ellipse. All right? Here's what is going on. H and k, like before, are the center coordinates. Fantastic. What A and B are, A is the x radius, which is not the proper term for it, but I like calling it that, and B is the y radius. Okay? The center of these two ellipses, pretty straightforward. It's right there and there. It's at the origin. Not always going to be there, but at least for these two, I made it at the origin. The distance that it goes in the x direction, that's our a value, and the distance it goes in the y direction is our b value. In this case, it's a. Up here is b. Okay? So let's just go ahead and do one. We're going to have x minus 3 squared over 4 plus y minus 2, now y plus 2 squared over, we're going to say 25, yeah, why not, is equal to 1. All right, let us pick out the important things here. The center is going to be 3 comma negative 2, because we're adding 2 here, so it must be negative 2 that we're subtracting. Our a value, our x radius, is going to be the square root of this, which is 2. Our b value, the y radius, will be the square root of this, which is 5. So if I wanted to graph this thing, our center is at 3 comma negative 2. 1, 2, 3 comma negative 2, right there. Our x radius is 2 units. So it goes 2 units to the left and right, and it goes up by 5 units and down by 5 units from the center. So we're going to go, if we're starting at negative 2, we go up 5, we're going to end up at 3. 1, 2, 3, which is up here. And we're going to go down by 5 units, which is going to get us down to negative 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is down here. All right, connect the points. Wow, that was not great. That's not good at all. Show me what you got. What it looks like to me is the head from Rick and Morty. Okay. And then this should, yeah, just connect it there. There we go. Yeah! That's kind of fun, right? You like ellipses. I like ellipses. Some of my best friends are ellipses. A lot of people don't know that. All right, Levi, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I agree. I agree.
Should I talk about the foci or no?
No.
No. Okay.
Unless you want to.
No.
Okay.
All right, guys and girls. We are going to be switching over to Master Levi, who's going to give you the inside scoop on main idea questions. And man, will this scoop be inside. There will be nothing outside or external about this scoop at all. Just be ready for it. You don't need a jacket. It's gonna be warm. It's the inside scoop. Yes. Dry, 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 you fools. Gandalf. Dry, you fools.
Okay.
Should we,
I'm going to pull up the overlay for myself.
Very good. I will continue erasing. That is what I will do.
Gonna lag.
Very good. Very good. Everyone is having a good time. And by everyone, I mean literally everyone on the planet right now, but not anymore. There was a split second where everyone's having a good time, which is statistically incredible. You want some rags?
Nope, got him. Thank you, though. Can you man the left and right arrow keys?
Potentially.
And the enter key? Because
Yeah.
I need to move up and down.
Yes.
Okay. For those of you who are interested in main idea questions, that's what we're doing now. And for those of you who aren't, it really doesn't actually affect if we're doing main idea questions right now or not. It may affect how long we'll do that, but otherwise they are independent. Main idea cues. All right. The main thing with these is recognizing that you when you have them and then not doing them right away. That's generally the right approach. If you try to read this passage and then do the first one that says what's the main idea, you might get it right. It's not that you're definitely going to get it wrong, but it is much smarter to do the simpler, more detail-oriented questions and then hop to the main idea. So let's do that real quick. I want to just go through this passage very, very quickly. So when you grow up as I did in Great City, during what just happens to be its golden age, you think of it as eternal. Always was there, always will be. The grandeur of the metropolis. Okay, so yada, yada, yada. The narrator grew up in, I think, Bombay.
Yes.
And then talks about Art Deco and the what is that word? Architecture of the city. Can you go to the bottom of this page, Braid? Okay, and then that's what we have here. And then here we get into a little bit more of what the narrator's parents do, and they have this merchant and merchant firm. We go into that, then we get into the narrator's relationship with his parents and their relationship altogether with the city. I confess I was insanely jealous of the city because his parents paid so much attention to it. Bombay was my rival. Okay, interesting. But let's hop up again. And then we have, okay, Amir's genius, my mother, master builder, great, local history, okay, and then, so this is how they all interacted with the city, narrator, his parents. Now, next paragraph, we have maps of the early town afforded my father great joy because he took photos, that type of thing, and these photo albums were very good for him and his father. That's an interesting paragraph is the word. And then Brady, can we hop down again?
Yes.
Have more of that, and then at the end we have, when I said this to my father, he showed me photos, still lives of the front of storefronts and piers, and told me I was too young to understand. See where people lived. Okay, so great. This is his father, him, photos of the old city, that type of thing. So now let's hop to the questions. Brady, can we go to the next page and then to the top of it? Number one. It's very important to be able to recognize question types, and number one is pretty clear. The passage as a whole, okay, so we have the word as a whole, so that's helpful. The words as a whole can primarily be characterized as the narrator's something. So this sort of bleeds into the question type of point of view, the narrator's point of view, but in this case it's still very solidly main idea. So it's a big idea. As soon as you see passage as a whole, and it's question number one or question number two, jump. Don't do it. You will be able to get it right later, assuming you have time, but you don't need to force it now. And this works for the ACT and SAT. Now, when you're doing the main idea questions, there are a couple things to keep in mind. When your approach is, as it always should be in this section, proving 3 wrong. So let's look at A. This passage as a whole can be characterized as the narrator's explanation of the relationship the narrator and his parents had with the city of Bombay. Okay, While that's pretty boring, it's not wrong. It's talking about the narrator and his parents and Bombay and their relationship to each other. Sure. B. Description of important buildings and locations in Bombay. Okay, this is true, to an extent. The narrator does talk about specific buildings. He does talk about locations. But this word is very important. Main idea. That's what we care about. The building things were details. It was the intro paragraph, which is why it may be tantalizing to choose B as the correct answer here. But I don't like it because it's not big enough. So that's one of the things you want to keep an eye out for, because, as I said, we're trying to prove things wrong. So one of the ways you can prove things wrong is it's not big enough. And this is a technique that works better for main ideas. It wouldn't work for a detail-oriented question because you care about big ideas here. So B is wrong because it's not big enough. C, argument for Bombay's prominence in the world of architecture. No, I don't like the word argument. The narrator definitely says, I think Bombay is great, and I think... Actually, Brady, can you go to the first paragraph again?
Yes.
Okay. Here, I think it was right at the beginning. When you grow up, as I did, in a great city, during what just happens to be the golden age, you think of it as eternal. Okay. And then it goes on, well, this is wonderful, and it had an Art Deco style. Great. This, and now we can go back to the answer choices, Brady. Thank you. I don't like C either. Not because it's wrong necessarily, but, or it definitely talks about Bombay's prominence. The narrator says in the first line, it's a great city. But I don't think the main idea here is an argument. So I'm going to get rid of the word argument. I don't like it. Oh, and then D, the narrator's concerns about the emotional, the narrator's concerns about the emotional environment in which the narrator was raised. There were negative things, and that's what they're going for here. But this is an assumption problem. The SAT and ACT are both evidence-based tests. The more you make steps away from what they actually say, the more likely you are to assume something wrong. And in this case, they're giving you the opportunity to assume something that's incorrect, or at least that's not necessarily supported. I don't like concerns. Again, it's too strong. The narrator definitely talks about how he was jealous of his parents' love for Bombay. He was jealous of Bombay. He said insanely jealous, I think. But the narrator doesn't voice concerns about it necessarily. He doesn't say, well, I was super jealous and I never got to spend time with my parents, and so it affects me to this day. That's not what the narrator is saying. So these are two big things, especially the first one, that have to do with main idea questions in particular. Now, you never want to make assumptions, but these are the main two, and then there's definitely just irrelevant. So who knows if they're right or wrong, but it's irrelevant to the question. And then we can also have contradictory. So they just say something's wrong. If it's wrong, then of course, if it's factually incorrect, then it can't possibly be the main idea. But the way that these questions trip you up is an answer choice will have an idea that's true, but it's only in one paragraph, or it's only a detail. This is a main idea thing. So what is the main idea of this? Okay, that's actually the only question on this test, and I think the thought process behind going through these questions is pretty clear. So let me know if you want to do another one, or you find main idea questions that are very difficult, because they can be very, very difficult. But that's why you always want to be proving 3 wrong. And that's why, so those 2 are also wrong. Okay, any questions, let us know. Otherwise, we can open up to anything else you want us to study. Bird, can you turn off the overlay?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. But this is the main stuff here. Gotta go big, don't make assumptions, don't put irrelevant or contradictory answers. Those are pretty simple at the end there. We can do math, again, we can do more reading, we can do science if you're ACT. If you're SAT specific, that's fine too. The SAT is the next test upcoming.
Oh, CB Turtle's got a question.
Oh, do they? In Discord?
Yes.
Very exciting. There it is. Oh, is that 2 questions? Oh no, just saying number 41. Okay. Let's see what number 41 is. Have you looked at it yet?
Huh?
Have you looked at it yet? It's just
Yeah.
loading for me.
It's good.
Ooh, okay. 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 Ooh, what's this? Great. Ooh, English question. Can I have this or no? Do you want it?
Go for it.
Okay. Come on. What's the problem here? All right. Ooh. In early childhood, as the brain goes through a phase... Oh, is this the absolute pitch one?
Yeah.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. I forget what test that's in.
Good one.
Okay. In early childhood. So, that's a non-essential. As the brain goes through a phase of development during which it is primed to learn language, which can likewise be able to learn absolute pitch. Okay. I don't like that one. CB Turtle, do you have any specific questions on this? What were you able to eliminate answer choice wise? What confused you? What's the issue here? In childhood, I'm going to write out parts of this. In childhood,
As the brain goes through a phase, which
As-
likewise.
the brain goes through a phase.
Comma, which can.
Well, I wanna give it a little complexity but that's a good point. During which it's ready to learn language.
That's a lot of.
Brain was mentioned earlier and is repeated, so how is it the right answer? Got it. Okay. Ooh, very fun. Language. Blank. Likewise, be able to learn absolute pitch. Be able to learn absolute pitch.
Pitch or whoever.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We got time, dude.
We got
Even
time.
though you said we didn't have time, we have lots of time.
So much time.
Great deal of time. So you're saying B is the correct answer. I agree with that. And here's the thing, CB Turtle. You don't like the redundancy of it, and that's fine. The brain... That show up? Yeah, well
Yeah.
enough. May... Okay. That's what we put there. That is correct, and I'll tell you why. The original one doesn't make any sense. Which can. And the reason is, actually the rest of them, that is what we need. We need an independent clause to make this sentence work, and we don't have one in any of the other options. In early childhood, it's a non-essential, right? It's an introductory little phrase thing. We have a comma, right? In early childhood, in 1962, whatever it is. So we don't care about that at all. You know what? I'm going to use the blue markers to not ruin this marker. We don't care about that. It's a non-essential. Let's take it out. And then, as the brain goes through a phase during which it is ready to learn language. That is a dependent clause. And some other stuff. But as the brain goes through this thing, we then have a comma. So this is one of the uses of commas. It's DC, comma, IC, essentially. Would you agree, Grady?
Absolutely.
It's got to be that, because you can't change that beginning part of the sentence. Now, if you don't have as, and you have the brain goes through a phase during which it's ready to learn language, that's fine. That's an independent clause. Then we have a totally different question here. But we have the word as, which is a dependent clause marker. And as soon as you have that, it's like saying, I walk to work, or I walk to school, independent clause. As I walk to school, something needs to happen, right? We need that actual kernel of the sentence. Go ahead.
It was going to be exactly what you just said, so there's really no point.
Very good. Maybe just repeat it again.
No.
Don't say it, just like an echo.
As is what's called a subordinate conjunction, just like the word although, because, while, unless. It's a bunch of them. You put them in front of a sentence, they become dependent.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So we need this independent clause. And the only answer choice that gives us a subject, because we need a subject to have an independent clause, is whatever that answer choice was. The brain may likewise be able to learn absolute pitch. If we have just two or we don't have anything, we don't have that subject-verb combination, which is brain and then be able to do that, right? Oh wait, what am I saying? That's not at all true.
Brain may
I'm just
be
looking.
able.
Yeah, the brain may, right?
Yeah,
That can just
it
be
may
by
be.
itself. Maybe.
Yeah, may is like a helping verb.
It's helping verb, and then you have your whatever. Okay, does that clear it up for you, CB Turtle? You have to do so in order of things that we care about on this test or on the English section. Number one is clarity. I think you've seen me write this before. Clarity is most important, right? Because if it's not clear, it doesn't make any sense. And punctuation and grammar is the most important thing because it has to work grammatically, mainly. Then you can go to concision. So yes, it is a little annoying to say the brain in two different parts of the sentence. Maybe it would be a little clearer to say it. Or it wouldn't be clear, but it would be more concise. But then if you say it here, maybe the word it is ambiguous because we don't know if it's referring to brain or phase or language. We don't know. So I like the brain. It is slower. It is, but you got to deal with it. The brain was... Do you have any issues with this explanation? Do you feel like you can, what we just... Great, good. Yeah, so keep this in mind. Clarity over concision over formality. Every question, don't think about concision. Concision will come to you. If you're looking at the sentence and you say, well, I've checked independent clauses, which is like most of every single grammar question, you have to know where your independent clause is. If you can't find any problems, then go to concision. See if, there's lacking information. They're saying just delete this thing. Then, yeah, check out concision. Okay, any other questions?
Should we talk about our sponsor?
Yeah, that's kind of a good idea.
That could be kind of fun.
That could be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Really. Our sponsor is Alta Ipsum. So we are also our sponsor.
What does that mean, though?
Alta Ipsum, loosely translated from
Latin.
Greek, Latin,
No, it's
French,
not Greek.
Spanish. What?
It's from Latin.
You don't know.
Yes, I do.
Greek is a
Ipsum.
dead language.
Ipsum is Latin. We know what the languages were like.
Also, Greek is not a dead language.
No, Greek is not a dead
Dude,
language.
this is why I can't listen to you.
You said it was a dead language.
You said.
No.
Your words.
No, I was responding to you.
You always say that. Anyway, Alta Ipsum, which is now no longer here because Brady really derailed us, but it'll come up in a second. It means to summit yourself in Latin.
Which means what? Like, do the best you can?
It kind of means do the best you can.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that.
Right.
And that's exactly what it's for. It allows you to do the best you can. It's an online app, so you can use it on your phone, you can use it on your computer, whatever it needs to be, tablet, all those things.
But how does it work?
You can use it on your Tamagotchi even, actually. They just added that functionality.
Tamagotchi.
It allows you to plan stuff. It allows you to track your grades. It allows you to organize yourself. So you can put in, here are when my classes are, here's when I'm doing these different types of homework, and then also you can say, well, I have a term paper due in 3 weeks, and then it will set up a schedule for you where it says, okay, spend an hour researching here, an hour doing this here, an hour doing this here, and then you're not going to be cramming the night before the test or term paper. And then you can customize it from there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, speaking of customization, watching Nerdish and doing ACT, SAT prep is something that you should be doing regularly. So might as well just throw that into Alta Ipsum on your schedule. Make it purple, because that's kind of our color.
It's not our color. I don't know why this shows up purple.
Just because of the light
We're the same color, as
and
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
And lastly, it's free for a month. It's free. It's free. Try it out. See if you like it. If you don't like it, then get out of there. But if you like it, it might help you out. You don't know.
For that month, it is actually equally as free as this.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
And then after that month, it becomes infinitely more expensive than us. Not because it's very expensive. It's not at all. But because we're $0, any ratio to 0 would be undefined. Hence, somewhat
So it's not
infinitely.
infinite.
No.
It's undefinedly more.
Yes.
We are undefinedly.
The ratio is
less expensive.
undefined.
The ratio is.
Right. The ratio is undefined. It
Yeah.
approaches infinity.
Yes. As we all are.
Are we?
Yes.
No.
Pass into the ether.
Ether. It's ether, not ether.
Yeah, well, it's ether ore.
Oh my god. I can't stay up here.
Come on, Barry. Come
I
on.
can't.
You
No.
stay
You
up.
keep answering people.
Why? Why are you upset?
I have to check my phone
Oh, right. Why do you have to check your phone?
for Discord questions.
Oh, it's not for your Alta Ipsum thing? No,
No.
there's no Discord questions. CB Turtle, there are no Discord questions, and we have a problem. Or anybody else.
Ba-da-doo-doo-doo.
Oh, damn, nada. Oh.
Ba-da-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Ba-da-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. City CB Turtle.
Oh,
Walking
yeah,
down the
for his
street.
personal life. That's a good
CB
idea.
Turtle.
Okay, so, Brendan's personal life. What do you want to know? We will tell you all. But,
It's taken a turn for the personal recently.
yes,
Yeah.
it's so personal.
Yeah.
CB Turtle, we will trade you a tidbit of Brendan's personal life for another question.
We are so hungry for questions here.
Yeah.
We need them to survive. To make it through the long winter, we need questions. 1 sec. Very good, CB Turtle. Anyway, you got any good jokes?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
To
Who?
To whom?
Ah, how
Because
about
it's
that?
an object, not a subject.
Okay.
That's why it's really
How about
funny.
that? Mojo 1 2 3. Welcome.
Mojo.
How are thee?
How art thee? How art thou? It should be done. Yeah.
I know. It had a rhyme.
Yes, it did.
Mojo wouldn't have known.
Mojo didn't know.
Dude, the ACT on Saturday was so bad.
What was bad about it? I think we talked about this, but I do entirely forget what was hard for you and what wasn't.
I haven't heard a lot about this ACT yet, so fill me in. Legit everything.
Oh. Okay.
Ugh. That's not good. You run out of time on certain sections, Mojo? Did the math get super tricky? Give us some sweet deets. Reading was so difficult.
That's probably a good sign, honestly. You know, if your score will be curved based on, you know, the scale that they score
Yes.
you on will be different.
Yes, Mojo, you thought it was difficult, so did everyone else. The curve will be friendly. If it was very difficult, then they have that taken into account. So you might get a score that's higher than you think you did. It's very difficult to leave the ACT thinking, oh yeah. Like, it's true.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Pray to the curve gods. Yes, those curvaceous deities. What was I going to say?
We
Yeah,
need a
it's not like a
voluptuous curve.
school test where you study super hard for a section or for a chapter or something, and if you study enough, you will know everything that's on the test, and you're going to be fine. It's not like that. This is designed to stretch kids out on a distribution of scores very widely. The only way they can do that is if they make it very difficult and then see how you stack up. So, you know, if it was too easy, everyone would get, too many kids would get 36s. You have a bunch of kids getting 36s, and there'd be no way to tell them apart, and you need to try to spread kids out as much as possible to sort of figure out, check the r/ACT subreddit. Good question. Do we get a question from CB Turtle?
Yes. This is a great question. I'm going to do this right now.
I'm going to do this right now. Oh, man.
Actually, haven't been on the subreddit for ACT.
Drawn through the impactor each hour is given by which the following expressions.
Okay. So they tell you everyone is just freaking out over Form B24. Oh, like, does someone have the form already? Anyway, we should check it out. Okay, this question, CB Turtle. They tell us, or they ask us, the total volume of air in liters drawn each hour by the compactor. And they give, so check the answers real quick and you see where you're going. There's 1.1 liters, so you're starting with that, which means it's probably in the passage somewhere. And then you're multiplying it by something.
Or dividing it by something.
Or, oh yeah, a little division. Is that plus or divide?
Divided.
Okay. So we have 1.1 liters per hour. No, I think it's per minute.
Per minute. Sorry.
I want to write it.
And put minute on the
Yeah.
far bottom.
1.1 liters over
1 minute.
1 minute.
Yeah, we recommend you write it like this when you have per minute. What that means is over 1 minute. Okay, it'll make unit conversion a lot easier.
And then in the passage, it says that it draws in dust particles or whatever it was at a rate of 1.1 liters per minute. So that's where that part of the answer choice comes from. And then they don't say anything else about it. They say nothing else.
This is a math question.
So it's a math question. It's sort of outside knowledge, but the knowledge is math. And it is stoichiometry.
Yeah, stoichiometry is specifically chemistry, as in like chemical reactions. It's unit dimensional analysis.
Unit conversion.
Unit
type of
conversion,
stuff.
yeah.
So they want how much is converted in 1 hour, right? Or how much goes through it in 1 hour. So you have to get from here to 1 hour. How much is done in 1 hour? Which means we need to get rid of minutes. So what you do with unit conversion is you multiply by 1. And in this case, we can do it that way.
Okay, so Levi just put up a conversion factor, 60 minutes to 1 hour. That's the same amount of time, right? On top and bottom, they both represent the same amount of time, which means it's equal to 1, which is why you're able to multiply by this. But he put it there in a way so that the minutes on the bottom here and the minutes on top here will cancel out. Because just like numbers, units also cancel.
And then that's the answer. So they don't even have you solve it.
Yes. So he's
that's
multiplying by 60. He's got to multiply by 60 to figure this out.
CB Turtle, does that make you happy? Also, Mojo, we will check. I'm going to check out the AC Discord in a sec, maybe when Braid's doing a question. If it was hard, that's probably good. Honestly, what it also means when people on the ACT Discord or Reddit and all that are freaking out is it means that the test was very different also, very possibly. So maybe the way they were asking questions was really difficult.
What if this is how I give a thumbs up? Nice job.
How do you do that?
You just
that's
angle
horrifying.
it. Yeah, it's fine.
My thumb is bigger than my head.
Nice job.
Limp.
Yeah, that looks fun.
Okay.
So Mojo, it sounds like you had some trouble finishing reading. So talking about speeding up reading, strategies for that would probably be up your alley. Am I saying something you like?
You picking up what Bird's putting down?
Is this something that you might be interested in? Here, we gotta click new messages.
Yeah, I got you.
And beat. Normally I'm fine. Just this one was incredibly hard. Ah, okay. Incredibly.
Are you sure it was hard? Getting mixed messages here.
F.
F is what they say now.
For when things don't go well?
I feel like it has something to do with like it's like a joke. I don't want to explain this because I'm gonna sound like an idiot.
No, it's like a grade. F.
No.
-6 was a 3. C was a 35.
-6 was a 35. How do you know that?
-6 was the 35. Wow, that is a generous curve. Yeah, so you can get a pretty good score still.
But how did that happen? How do they know that?
It was given in October.
Oh, right. Okay, so we already had this conversation. That makes sense. Right.
Right. So wait, when he says it was given in October, it was the same test given back in October?
Yeah, it was one of the alternate forms or something. I forget how it works.
Oh, that you take?
Yeah.
B24. That's good. Mojo, you follow our strategy of marking those line numbers and then doing those questions immediately when you get to the marked line numbers? Because that can shave off some time. Yes. Good. All right. Then things would have been worse had you not done that. So that's something that we can be proud of. New messages. What do we got? The thing was. What's the thing, Mojo?
What was the thing, Mojo?
Here it comes. Tell us what the thing was. On 2 of the passages, only 2 of the questions asked about line. Right. It didn't come up that often. Ah, that's tough. That's tough.
Skim diddly skim.
Yes. Skim strategy. Read the introductory paragraph. Read the topic sentences of the body paragraphs. Read the entire concluding paragraph. You read around a third. It'll be a good main idea search if you look at all that stuff. That's tough though, Mojo. Whatever you do, don't lose your mojo. Mojo.
They got one more.
1, 2, 3. That's true. They have one more.
Yeah.
Curve predictions. This just in, we have curve predictions going to Levi in the field.
I'd be interested to see if those are correct.
Yeah, we should just keep those around. I'll print those out and put them on the
Nobody
wall.
else comment in the chat
That's not true.
until the scores come out.
Comment on the chat, guys. Levi's just being a bozo. The big red nose. Honk, honk.
Is that what all bozos look like?
Bozos looks like?
Yeah. Bozo look like.
Bozo look-alike. You're a bozo look-alike.
I hate this chat thing. I don't know why it doesn't
What
work.
does it say? Ever LOL. Keep the faith, Mojo. Next one will be better.
I know we asked you this before. I still want to press you on this, Mojo. What was hard? So it seems like one of the things was time, just,
Were the
age up.
passages like history passages filled with outdated language that was difficult to decipher? Was that part of it?
And then, on the other sections, if everything was really hard, what were the maybe confusing parts, things you knew you didn't know?
Oh, we're giving Mojo
We
a
don't
sec.
want to give you any time.
No, we're giving you a sec.
Immediately.
I gotta break it down by section. You need us to give you a beat?
Oh, yeah, you do.
It's a simple beat.
It is a simple beat.
I'm a man of simple beats. Just like my father.
Who looks like my father?
I gotta break it down by section. Be right back. Oh.
See ya.
Bye, CV Turtle. Come back. Relatively easy and normal. Very good. Relatively. That's good. Here comes math. I'm going to predict that math had a lot of hard questions at the end. I need some water. You want to get some water?
You can go get some water.
Oh, man.
Oh. Anything else? Should erase that. Also, for anybody else who's watching who didn't take the ACT, wants to ask SAT questions or anything else, please feel free. We're just dealing with this bit of ACT debrief, but we're definitely happy to answer questions that are concept related. Oh, so annoying, this thing. Oh, nope, that's not ideal. First 40 were nominal, and then 40 through 60 all took at least 4 steps. Interesting. So they were very time-consuming. What were the time-consuming ones? Because it's unlikely that they all took a lot of steps, or maybe maybe they did, and maybe you weren't using your calculator the right way. Maybe it was okay. Yeah, we'll just let you finish these breakdowns. Passages were long and boring. Questions asked for specific details, so you had to read the actual article. Got it? Remember, if it is emotionally draining or stressful for you,
Repress and dissociate.
in science, Mojo. I hope they heard you. I think they did. Science, normal, but you needed some more advanced background knowledge that I haven't seen before. That does actually seem to be the trend. I've seen more just, oh, that's pretty esoteric scientific knowledge type of stuff.
40 to 60, it took at least 4 steps. Oh, geez. Incredibly infuriating.
It's on here now.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, shoot.
Okay, our questions. Basically, let's say on math, you said that all 40 through 60 took a lot of steps. What were if you can generally think, what were some of the questions that took a lot of steps? You don't have to know the numbers, but, one where they gave you a graph and you had to get to something else, and they didn't give you a ton of info, so you had to work through it really quickly or something. Can you remember any of those multi-step problems? Maybe there are quicker ways to do them.
Oh.
Ooh, those types, they have the blurb and then you have to go through that context the whole time.
Well, Mojo, if there's anything that we could help you with that you remember from the tests, certain concepts that you didn't know how to do. A few different tables with confusing probability. Oh, they're giving you those probability tables, huh?
Confusing ones. Mojo, keep talking. Stall. I'm gonna ask a question.
Did you catch the game? State beat Tech by at least 1 point, possibly more. Otherwise, they'd still be playing. The wording seemed deceiving. They deceived you, huh? When I get my scores, I'll be able to ask better questions. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it makes sense. I'd be on the lookout for questions that remind you of the questions you got. They're not getting a score report with question TR. Okay. Oh, man. What happened today? Why am I so tired? Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, we can.
We'll take a look at it soon.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe now?
Why don't you take a look and I'll do this problem with Mojo. So, Mojo, you have these three things. It won't make sense to you because you didn't take it. That's fine, maybe because they're not being specific enough to allow us to come up with a full question. Got it. Okay, that's fine. I mean, maybe we can do math or English if there is some topic that is more pull out of the testable. Anyway, let's say this is 24. Okay. I would like you to tell me, Mojo, if we're going from A to B and then from B to C, and the percent increase from A to B is 1/3 of the percent increase from B to C, what is A? Can you figure that one out? Or walk me through how to figure it out. Wait. Hopping from A to B, B to C, the percent increase here is 1/3 of the percent increase from here to here. So it's not going to be 12 because you're adding 6 both times. Not that. I'm sure you knew that. Did that link show anything that was understandable or no?
Yeah, no, I mean, if you had to take a test to get it.
Yeah, that's what I say. That's what Mojo says. So, cool. Can you toss me my water bottle, please? Find percentage increase from B to C. Yeah. What is? Do you know how to do that? Or do you? What is the percent increase? It should be relatively quick to figure out. Because I had a student yesterday mess up how to do it.
Nope.
Careful. Percent increase is based on the change between them, the two numbers, and the first number. Because if you're going from 6 to 9, the percent increase is 50%, right? Because you're going up by 3, but you're starting at 6. So you're adding half of 6 to itself, you get to 9. The same thing has to be used here. From 18 to 24, that means your increase is 6. And the percent increase is 6 of the original 18. So that means that your percent increase is 6 over 18, which is 1/3.
If I write out new minus old over old.
Sure, that's a good idea. New minus old over old. Does that make sense, Mojo? The difference between what you have in the chat and then this? 1/3, aka 33%. Please let me know. And then from here, you have to go backwards. So this is actually where it gets even more tricky. We need to figure out what this is, so let's call this little a. Little a, there you go. Now, things change here because we don't know what the old is. Okay, we got two okays. Okay. In this case, we know the percent increase this time is 1/3. And the increase from A to B is 1/3 the increase here. So 1/3 of a third is 1/9. So I'm just going to keep it at 1/9. Is writing easier to master than reading?
Yes.
Yes, it is. It's really hard to master reading. Reading, so it depends on where your trouble lies in reading. If you're the type of person who can't focus or has trouble understanding the questions, then that's actually relatively easy to fix, or at least not easy, but it's quick. You can work through that relatively quickly compared to the other part, which is reading comprehension. Reading comprehension takes a long time to build, and it takes a lot of reading. So doing practice tests will not really improve your reading comprehension very much. You need to be reading, I don't know, 100 hours, 200 hours before it actually would make a difference on this test. And I'm not talking reading Twitter anthologies. I'm talking reading, a legitimate book or newspaper articles or something like that. So I would say that reading, it depends on where your level is, but I think that reading is really hard to master because your reading level has to be super, super high, and you have to be able to read quickly to be able to answer all of these questions perfectly. Because if we're saying mastery, that means you're getting a 36. I think it's easier to get a 36 on the English section. And I think this goes for both tests. Yeah, so reading takes a long time. Math takes a long time because a lot of the time, well, it depends on where you are in math as well. If the basics are tripping you up at the beginning, it's going to take a really long time to master it and get a 36. But if you're very good and it's just those you don't know matrices and you don't know other little bitty, complex number type of things, then you can get there. Even my United States history class, the speeches by people are confusing to comprehend. Yeah, so part of the issue with education, or not even education now, but I would say downtime for kids, is that you don't read full sentences a lot of the time. And a lot of the way that people communicate online is with short clipped things that, I think add a lot of color to them, and they're actually funnier than full sentences most of the time. But you just don't see enough full sentences in your spare time. I'm not saying that you don't know how to read. I'm saying you just don't see a lot of it, and it's not as familiar. A lot of people don't read as quickly, or they're not necessarily equipped to handle super, super long sentences. Or nobody uses punctuation anymore, so that's also an issue. Oh, thank you for the resub, Waldo the Bear. We appreciate it. 3 months, Waldo. Wow. Great. Thank you very much.
Well done, Waldo the Bear. Well done.
That was a weird one.
It was a weird one.
I know.
And
I
the
don't-
other
I don't
ones
usually
were all
sound like
super
that.
normal.
I know.
And that one was the only weird one.
That I've ever done?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was so weird. I'm looking at you differently now.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel strange now.
You look strange now.
I feel humiliated.
And I'm looking at you strangely.
Waldo the Bear, thank you so much. Robot Dancer, speeches by people are confusing to comprehend. They're confusing to the people that they were giving them to as well.
That's...
Sometimes true.
Get out of here.
Sometimes true.
So unproductive.
So no. I mean, Hey, there's a tendency to what is it? Embellish your language with lots of flowery vocab. However, I mean, if you look at what the founding fathers wrote, just the things that they wrote to each other, oh my gosh! I mean, the vocabulary of those guys were just insane.
Yeah, they were very flowery.
They were very well read.
Very
They knew a
flowery
lot of
men.
words, possibly too many.
Hey, Mojo, since you made a little error in this thing, the first step, can you find A for me? Do you know how to do that? Instead
Robot
of reading
dancer.
like novels.
What do you like reading that has full sentences in it? Because novels are great. Scientific articles, I mean, I find it difficult to try to get through them depending on where they're from. Like, journal articles from lab summaries are so dry, but like...
New York Times is awesome.
New
That's
York-
super high level.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Political articles are pretty good. Yeah.
New York Times, Wall Street Journal, we're in New York. The Economist, Time Magazine is decent.
Yeah, Robot Dancer, what do you like reading?
The New York Times Magazine, all these things, yes.
They will have, yeah, you will get higher brow language. But then again, like, there are novels for adults that have pretty good vocabulary in them, right? Like, if you're reading The Hunger Games, it's gripping, but you're not going to get, like, the most intense vocabulary.
Yes, so reading memes will not help you. I just seriously doubt that'll help you at all. It's not going to hurt you. Unless you spend
Except
too
it's
much time.
on it, then it does hurt you. Yeah.
I think we did have a meme section.
Robot, when
CV
was the last
Turtle.
time you read a book for pleasure, and what
Deleted.
book was it? Goes for everyone else watching this as well.
Yeah, what book did CB Turtle most recently read?
CB Turtle or Robot Dancer?
Or, yeah, what books did they most recently read? If you're not either of them, we still want that answer about them.
Yes. Yeah, specifically about them. Correct. Yeah. I have so many markers right now.
Yeah, you do. You compensating for only having two hands?
Kind of.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I have 5 fingers.
Oh my gosh, horrifying.
Hop on the Magic Tree House. Yeah, we used to watch that show.
That's
The Magic School Bus.
very close.
I know. Hop on the Magic Tree House bus. Robot, it's about time that you found a book that you liked and read.
Read more.
Read more.
Read more.
Yes.
If you want to do well on the reading section, and part of it is
Look, I'll just say it. The more that you read, the quicker your brain identifies words and doesn't even need to read the words. You look at a word and you know what it is. Your reading speed will increase.
reading is the single most important thing that you can learn how to do academically. Reading well. The most important thing you can learn how to do academically for your entire life. It has nothing to do with this test necessarily. You should read so much more than you have since 5th grade.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, not everyone reads is for pleasure. They just don't. There's a lot of things you can do that, like, will give you the same things that reading does. Like, there's a lot of very intelligent podcasts you can listen to. Because more interesting to me to read, like, real life. Yeah, then go ahead and do that. There's no better. It is just the fact that your brain is reading long material that will make you better at reading. Okay?
Yeah.
So whatever you find interesting, that you naturally want to keep reading. Like, reading should not be a chore if you're reading the right thing. There's plenty of things that you have to read for school that do feel like chores, but then on your own time, try to find things that you actually enjoy reading. Your brain keeps, like, you want to know how it ends, or you want to know what their analysis of a certain event is.
Unless you like chores.
Yes, unless you want everything to feel
Yeah.
like it's sort of painful and something that you wish you didn't have to do. So it sounds like you find those articles pretty interesting. Then yeah. I mean, there are some fantastic... I don't know if you've ever read any articles in The New Yorker. They're long, but like
They're awesome.
they're in depth and they're amazing. There's some fantastic writing in that.
Also, I would recommend reading out loud to yourself. Just try it. It's really interesting because you can tell how bad you are at reading when you read out loud. I mean, I'm sure you've listened to other people in class read out loud and the people try to read quickly because they're trying to sound smart. Don't do that. Any novels that you guys recommend?
I can say
Oh
what
my
Brendan would
goodness.
say. Brendan would recommend The Wheel of Time because he always brings it up. I've actually started reading it, and there's like 14 books in the series?
14 books in the series.
A lot of books in the series. They're very large books. I'm about 80 pages into the first book, and it's finally getting pretty action-packed. But that is a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
Don't tell Brendan this, but like you probably want to start smaller. Okay, I don't know if you've seen, what's it called? What's the one where, the virtual reality one? It was a movie.
There is none.
Yes, there was.
Ready
Steven
Player
Spielberg.
One.
Yeah, Ready Player One. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but like that was a page turner. Adventure Trios is pretty good. Ready Player One. I read that either last summer or the summer before. One of my students recommended it to me, and I'm like, sure, I'll give it a shot. And wow, it was like I thought it was so fun and fascinating, and I just ripped through that.
Yeah, I would say for me, I wouldn't actually recommend The Lord of the Rings too much for grammar because he makes up a lot of words and he makes up his own grammar, which is super frustrating, actually. I started reading, I'm 2 books in, and it's just so aggravating when he just doesn't use commas, and it makes me very angry. But I really do recommend reading out loud because what it requires you to do is you need the correct intonation. Because if you're going to say something like, as I go to school, I listen to music, you have to speak the right way so that the person listening to you, which is probably just you, can understand where you're going with the sentence, which requires very early on for you to identify what part of the sentence you're in. If you're going to start with the dependent clause, you have to recognize that marker immediately so that you can have the right intonation in your voice. And it's actually really clear when you're doing it right and when you're doing it wrong. And it'll slow you down a little bit at the beginning, and then you start to realize, oh, I know exactly how to recognize these things, and you start being able to put together sentences as you read them. It seriously helps your reading comprehension.
Yeah. There's a lot of good articles online. There was one...
like 5.
There's at least 5. There was one by BuzzFeed recently about, like, millennial burnout, which I thought was really interesting. And the article took, a little while to read. Like, it was a lot of writing. So there's, you... Go to the library and, ask the librarian what kind of books are, like librarians know what's popular currently. That's kind of part of their job. You can also just look it up. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Big time. Because you start seeing, you start knowing what looks bad. You're like, okay, most of the time that I've read something like this, there's usually a comma in this part of the sentence, and here there isn't one. And one of the answers has that comma. If you're constantly refreshing yourself with the rules by reading, seeing them put into practice, then you'll identify when they're broken way more often. You may not know what rule or exactly why it's being broken or how they broke it, but you'll recognize that it's broken, and you'll see something that looks like it's better. I'm very motivated to read now.
Good.
Yes, that is excellent.
Good.
Yes, Robot Dancer, you haven't read Ready Player One. I'd recommend that. That's a fun one.
There are so many, I don't know. I like fantasy a lot.
I like science fiction. So there's a lot of like dystopian novels. Like I don't know if you've ever read like Brave New World or 1984. Those are pretty dark, but they're powerful and they're scary.
Yeah. Those old Englishy fantasy novels are actually super helpful for when you hit those old Englishy prose passages that can sometimes be really hard when it's saying thou and thee and old lady whatever. When they use really esoteric language, reading really aggressively dragon-oriented fantasy novels helps with that a lot, which is kind of nice. But I think the scholarly articles is the way to go because that'll help you with more of the passage types.
Yeah, I don't know if you're a Game of Thrones fan, Robot Dancer. That might be a little older than your pay grade, but they're great books.
Would you say Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
I couldn't get through them.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, Robot. But I'm scared I won't have enough time to improve the reading section because my test is in 1 month. Well, I watch the show, not read. The fact that you watch the show means it might be more vivid for you when you do read them because you can recognize or you visualize a lot of the characters the way that they actually look in the show, which may be a good or a bad thing. I don't know. Even if you were done with the test, we would still recommend that you read. So it's not like you're going to do yourself a disservice here. However, if the test is in 1 month, I'm guessing you're a junior. It's too late for them to take it as a senior. You can take this test as late as December of your senior year. So this test in 1 month might not be the final one that you take. So this might be more of like a long-term marathon strategy rather than a sprint to increase your reading. Reading is a skill that is a muscle that takes a little while to see pretty big improvements in.
I would say if you read one legitimately scholarly article from the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Economist, New York Times Magazine, Wall Street Journal, one of those. You read one of those every single day, and it's got to be one of the longer ones or 2 shorter ones or something like that. It will help you. Spend half an hour reading every day, those types of things, and it will help you.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's right before I go to bed. I've been reading. Sometimes I'm bad and I like watch something on Netflix on my iPad or something. But like, since I was a little kid, I always read before I went to bed. That is a great time to do it, and it's also much better than looking at your phone, just from a health perspective, because that's really bright light that tells your brain that it's daylight outside, and it screws up your circadian rhythms.
Is that what they look like?
Yeah, they're like robots.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so get a little lamp.
Hey, Mojo, are you here? You're supposed to be doing this problem.
Mojo, what happened to you? What?
What happened to you?
What books did you guys read in high school? Oh, man.
I took high school off from reading. I read a lot in middle school, and then I didn't read in high school, and
What did you
that's
read in
why
English class in high school?
Oh, God, I didn't read them.
You didn't read them?
No.
You missed out on some good ones.
I know.
All right, here, I'll give you a nice little rundown.
I had a list of the 200 I read in middle school.
I remember reading Lord of the Flies, The Great Gatsby, Jane Eyre, 1984. I read, what's it called? Siddhartha, Life of Pi. We did a Shakespeare every year.
Life of Pi is my favorite book.
Oh, Life of Pi is fantastic. It's your favorite book, huh? Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, we read a Shakespeare every year, but like I would not recommend going for Shakespeare right now.
Shakespeare won't help you actually too much.
No, not what you want right now. You gotta really love language to get into Shakespeare.
It doesn't. So
yes, The Great Gatsby. Yes, exactly. I really also The Catcher in the Rye. That's a good one.
I just read that again recently-ish.
It's different when you're older.
It's horrifying. It
Really?
made me so sad.
Well, that's good. That's what it's supposed to do. The kid's really sad.
Yeah.
He's incredibly sad and
Yeah.
empty, and he doesn't know why.
Yeah.
Or just he doesn't realize that he projects it onto the world, and thinks that the world is full of fake empty people when it's rather himself going through a thing.
Well, yeah, so those books are generally not super challenging, but you also have tons of time, right? They give you a week to read a chapter or two or whatever it is, and yeah, it's a different animal. So the articles are better because they pack way more information into a paragraph.
Scarlet Letter. Read that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That thing has some vocab in it. Oh my god.
If you want like really, really, maybe at this point, kitschy types of fantasy novels, I read The Cry of the Ice Mark. Oh, The Golden Compass, Subtle Knife, Amber Spyglass.
Yes.
The Book of Dust.
His Dark Materials trilogy.
His Dark Materials.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are phenomenal.
Those are good.
And they're making a big time TV show out of them.
There's, you know what? There's this new series about a boy who's a wizard. It doesn't know it. It's fantastic.
Well, he knows it around, when the big guy with all the hair comes.
Well, don't give it away.
Well, no, he figures it out.
Physical
very
materials are
early.
good. Robot, you don't need to get a physical newspaper. I mean, the articles are the same as what you read online.
Wait, are you saying you literally never picked up a newspaper?
Harry Potter. I think that's the name of this new series.
You'll do very well on Brendan's personal life subject test.
Harry Potter. Robot, yeah, I mean, newspaper. I mean, it's worth it to look through one just to see what it is, because they're not going to be around too much longer. They're not.
No, that's true. If you have access, don't buy a new subscription necessarily. You can buy an online subscription. That'd be easier. But yeah, those are good. They're very messy, so don't read those in bed. They will get ink all over your sheets.
They're not, like, wet with ink.
No, but if you rub them on anything, they'll just come off.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like an octopus.
Yes. How
Just
about
inks all over
Men's
your bed.
Health, LOL? The magazine. Yeah. Magazines are good.
I don't know.
Magazines that have articles that you find interesting. You might as well learn new things about things that you find interesting you want to learn more about. So
it couldn't hurt to read Men's Health. It's a legitimate publication.
Yes.
Yeah.
Herschel's here.
Herschel, what are you doing here?
Great workouts in Men's Health. Herschel gives a big A+ to Men's Health. Herschel, have you been working out lately?
Herschel is actually the heir to the Men's Health magazine.
He's the heir, the scion,
conglomerate
to the fortune.
Yes.
Good night, Robot Dancer. Hey, go big of a book, huh? No, you should, or just read something that's good before you go to bed.
I'm gonna finish this question.
Well, Mojo's not here. Some of the best. Excellent. Oh no.
Last. Fix
I
it.
will fix it. I will
Fix
fix
it.
it now. I guess the problem will never be solved.
CB Turtle, do you know the answer to the question?
Herschel, do you know the answer to the question?
This is the question. Here's the question. We sort of began to figure it out.
We don't know it. We're
Yes.
scared. We can't turn off the stream until someone answers it.
So this we found is the percent change from here to here. This is a 33% change.
CB Turtle says 16? Was one of the answers 16 with a question mark after it?
I don't know. I made the problem up.
Oh.
Careful. It's not 16.
So
Not a bad guess, but not the right answer.
So you're looking for some number that goes up by 33% of itself and becomes 18.
No. This is 33 here, so this is going to be 1/9, or what is?
Oh, 1/3 of the increase.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't
yeah.
see that. 11%. Yeah, 1/9. Yeah. 1/9. You sound like my cousins. Where are your cousins from?
Are they Jewish from New York?
Is that where they're from, Herschel? They live in Brooklyn?
Where
That
are
was
you
not the
from,
same.
Herschel?
I know where Herschel's from.
Do you?
Herschel's from Chicago. He's from Chicago.
Okay, I'm gonna do this now.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So we know that we're trying to get a 1/9 increase, and I'm going to keep it at 1/9 because it's not rounded. I hate rounding things. I've always hated rounding things, and I've always said that. So we're starting, our new one is 18. And we have to subtract a from it. Divide by a, right? Because it's the percent increase from a. So the change between them divided by what you start with, and that equals 1/9. And now this is a normal equation. So you have to be very comfortable with solving equations like this. We'll multiply by a. We get 18 minus a equals a over 9. We'll add a to both sides. We have 18 equals 10 over...
Multiply by a to both sides, not add it.
Huh?
You did the right thing. You said add a to both sides.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
My bad. We have 10/9 a. No. I meant add it. I multiply it first and then I add it.
Oh, I thought you were getting rid from the denominator.
Yeah, you were probably watching that screen
That's
while
what
I
was
said
happening.
that.
Sorry.
Ugh. And then from here, multiply by 9/10 to cancel out. There and there. And we get a equals whatever this is. So 9/10 of 18 is, I don't know.
18 divided by 10. You can simplify that.
It's 1.8 times 9.
9/5. 40 is 81/5.
81/5.
Yep.
That's fun.
Which would be 16.
Which is about
2.
16.2. Not 16. Does that make sense, everybody? So percent increase, it's very important to remember it is you're dividing by the original number, the old number. Great, you can take 0.2 off. Not really.
Yeah, we gotta go, dude.
We do have to go. Here, take this. Thank you. No. Can I have that? Yeah, thank you.
Well, that's about it for us. We're going to be here tomorrow. No, we're not. Tomorrow's Thursday.
Tomorrow's Valentine's Day.
Yeah, we will not be streaming tomorrow.
Yeah. We got lots to do.
Correct. Let us know if there are things that you want us to know that you know currently. That's fair, right?
I think it's very fair.
Yeah. And by all means, if you don't want us to know them, do not tell us those things. Because if you were to tell us, that would be a situation that you would not like. We would know something that you didn't want us to know. Do the right thing. Read. Be healthy, make good choices. And Levi and I and Brendan collectively love all of you. Individually, no. But collectively, we love all of you.
No, it's a very one-sided, general, vague idea of love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just the shell of it. The word, mainly.
The appearance of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we love you.
in that collective sort of vague way.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Have a good night, everybody.